We are constantly asked to reveal exactly how we do things here at Autofidelity. Up until now, the methods and techniques that we use have remained a closely guarded secret. In this series, we're going to blow the doors wide open and show you exactly what happens behind the scenes here and how you can achieve your own professional finish by using our process.
Welcome to the Integrated Solutions video series, brought to you by Autofidelity and hosted by Terence Toh.
Hi, I'm Terence Toh, and welcome to this episode of Integrated Solutions. The DR650GW is a great dash cam from BlackVue that can be offered as either a 2-channel or a 1-channel system, which really means that you can have both front and rear facing cameras or just front. Today we'll be installing the DR650GW 2-channel version into this 2016 Audi A1. Although we'll be guiding you through the complete installation for the A1, we will also be sharing many tips which will help you no matter which car you're working with. We will be following a basic 7-step process which consists of 1. System component layout and positioning, 2. Vehicle disassembly, 3. Installation, 4. Initial testing, 5. Vehicle reassembly, 6. Final testing and system setup, and 7. Final checks. The process that we use in our workshop is slightly more involved than this and includes things like a vehicle pre-inspection and post-inspection as well as vehicle diagnostic checks. The first step is to lay out the system components for installation. This will give us an overview of all of the components in the system, and we can then see exactly where each component will be positioned and which parts of the car will need to be disassembled. Okay, so we've got all of our equipment laid out on the bench here. So firstly we've got the BlackVue front camera and the BlackVue rear camera. So obviously the front camera goes on the front windscreen, rear camera on the rear windscreen normally, especially in this car. Then we've got the wiring harness for the rear camera, which actually runs from the front camera to the rear camera in between the two. Then we've got the power wiring for the BlackVue system. Over here we've just got some mounting hardware which is kind of optional. And depending on the car that you're installing it in, you may or may not need that. And then a little micro SD card reader. Instructions, which should never be optional. And then just over here we've got a PowerMagic Pro module, the wiring harness for the PowerMagic Pro, and also some instructions for the PowerMagic Pro. So we're going to install this entire system as a complete kit. Now that we know where everything needs to be positioned, we can start to disassemble the car. Now, to help me with disassembly today, we've got a very good technician and my friend TJ, who's going to come and help me. TJ is going to help me disassemble the car today. Okay, so we're going to start by removing the rear tailgate trims, just the plastics around here. So this main trim here, and there's another little trim here that goes around the actual window. That's obviously so that we can mount our rear camera just into there, just onto the window. So to do that, we've already removed the screws. TJ's done that for me and removed most of the trims. What we're going to do is to actually remove this larger trim, which we need one of these for. Never use a metal trim tool to remove plastics because you'll scratch it. And then we've got to get underneath here and bring it down. Nice and easy. You want to grab the other side too? Then, there we go. Okay, that was nice and easy. Go for it. And now we'll just show you how to remove this other rear trim quickly. You can start removing it if you like, TJ. Go for it. Okay. Simple as that. All right, so now we're going towards the front of the car. We're going to remove the glove box so that we can get in there and do some wiring, this little side trim here, which is quite simple, and also the A-pillar trim here. And we're going to run the wiring up across the top of the roof all the way to the back. So that's between the front and the rear cameras. TJ is going to get in and demonstrate that.
So there's a few screws just around the glove box. I think about 3 on the top, 1 on the side there that you've already seen removed, and a couple at the base of the glove box, which we'll get a look at in a second. There we go.
Alright, so TJ's already loosened off the glove box. This is ready to go, but we've just got, drop that down and disconnect everything. Okay, so the next step is to remove this A-pillar trim here. Got to be very careful with a couple of things here. Number one, there's an airbag behind it, so we want to make sure we don't disrupt the airbag. Most manufacturers recommend that when you're working around airbags, just to actually disconnect the battery. If you're not sure, just have a look at a manual. And the other thing is, it's another plastic trim, so we want to make sure we don't actually damage the trim. So we've got some plastic trim tools again. Okay, so we're just going to see if we can find the clip on the top here. Put the top one out. One out. There we go. And we've just got to disconnect this. That's done. So you may have seen, but as we're removing all the panels out of the car, we're putting them up on these benches. That just makes sure that the panels don't get damaged as we're moving them around. It's good to have a nice open space, plenty of room here that we can actually put the panels onto. Now that we've removed all of the panels, we can get started on the installation. Okay, so before we actually start putting or installing this into the car, we're going to just make up a little bit of a wiring harness so that we can get all the positions right on the wiring for where everything's being mounted into the car. And TJ. Okay, so we're all harnessed up, but I just wanted to point a couple of things out here. To begin with, we've used, or TJ's used a fabric tape, which is actually the same type of tape as you'll find used in most Audi, Volkswagens and many other European manufacturers. Aside from other things, it'll prevent wiring from rattling against panels and things like that. And it's also a nice protection. It'll also look like so the wiring harness will look like it's part of the car. And then, so the way he's actually wired this up, you'll notice things like slightly different lengths on the connectors. And what happens here is that these connectors, when they're wired into the car, just need to be a slightly different length. That will mean that they can actually go up in the right direction, and then that wiring will go from there and tuck up into in behind a panel. Aside from that, we've harnessed up the complete length of all the cabling, okay, and obviously left So these cables have been harnessed together for this length here, but then from there they'll separate because one's going to the rear camera and the other one's going to the actual the other one's going to the PowerMagic Pro, which will plug in like that. Now, because we're going to get power from the fuse box in the car and we're going to use the factory fuse positions, we're actually using little Audi terminals, which will mean that we can use those fuses. So we'll put those on quickly, and they're going onto the PowerMagic Pro wiring harness. Like so. Okay, so we're going to mount the front camera just up here, nice and neatly. That will keep it out of the view of the driver. In fact, well out of the view of the driver because the driver's on this side. And in fact, mostly out of the view of the passenger, but also still give it a nice view straight through almost the center of the windscreen. Also, what it means is the wiring will connect in on this side. Okay. And when that connects in, we can run that up nice and neatly, just up there next to the rear view mirror. So I'm going to run that quickly. The wiring is going to run up here and across the top here, and then the power wiring will run down the bottom, and the rear camera wiring will run towards the back. So I'll do that quickly now. Okay, so run power cable just down the A pillar here. So that's ready to go down and be connected underneath here. This cable here for the rear camera, I'm just going to run that down to the back. Now what I've done is just run some, it's actually yellow tongue, which is in some building, but we can use that. I've already run it through, so all I've got to do now is just attach the rear camera cable, and we can run that back through. So I'm going to attach that with a bit of tape, and I'm just going to put some cable ties here to finish that off. Okay, we're ready to pull the cable through. Okay, so we've got the yellow tongue that's run through to here, and all we've got to do now is just pull it through. Perfect. Okay, so we've got our cabling all the way through to the back of the car. A couple of things, where the cable runs through from the front of the car to the back of the car, there are airbags. Make sure that you're well clear of the actual airbags themselves. All right, so just go back and double check if you're ever unsure. And then what you need to do is we're going to go through this grommet. We're going to do it with I'm going to do it with a cable tie. And we're going to use this stuff, which will give us a little bit of lubrication. And then we'll pull the cable through. Okay, now the rear camera, we're going to put it approximately just up here. All right. What we'll do is we'll run the wiring to the correct position and then put the trims on before we actually put that into position properly. So just to get an idea. It's going to be around about there in the center, and then we'll run our wiring back this way, run it all back here, and neaten up the wiring a little bit over here. Okay, so now I've run all the wiring across here. It's all cable tied nicely. You notice that I always like to run with the factory cables. A lot of work goes into, from the manufacturer's end that is, it goes into figuring out where cabling runs, and it's always good to be able to run our cabling in exactly the same position and use all the research that they've done. So, and then we can run it all, run the excess nice and neatly up here, just so it kind of, just so it's neatly tucked out of the way. The other thing to be aware of is that the cabling is actually close to where the clips go in for the panels. Just make sure that you're clear of that with your cables. So now, actually what we want to do is to mount the camera in position. To be able to mount that rear camera in position, we need to put this little panel in place so that we can pull the wiring out in the right spot and make sure the camera's mounted in the right spot in comparison to that trim. So we'll do that now. Okay, done. So that camera will still need to be adjusted slightly. So what I've done is just left it very, very lightly, just mounted it very, very lightly, and it can still be moved and adjusted to the right position. All right, so now we're getting towards the end of the installation. The main thing left is now to put the PowerMagic Pro and wire it all up. So PowerMagic Pro, we're going to keep it accessible so that we can get to this little switch here, which switches it on and off, and also little dip switches, which means we can change settings if we ever want to. So it'll mount just up here. We'll see if we can get you a close-up shot later. It's just going to kind of pop in there, and then the wiring is going to come around the back here. We've got power to connect, which will go to the power cable from the BlackVue system. So now really all I'll do is clean that up, and I'll need to earth this cable. There's an earth point in the Audi, just down here in the kick trim, and these connectors here are going to go into the fuse boxes here. Okay, so not that you can see all of that, but put a couple of fuses in here, or fuse connectors. Pop the fuses in a second, and then we've got an earth point down here, which I've earthed to, and then the PowerMagic Pro is mounted up here. So that's part of things is done. With all of the components installed in the car, now is a good time to make sure that the system works before we reassemble the car. This will save us from having to disassemble the car again because something doesn't work. Okay, so the last thing we've got left to do is to mount the front camera. What we're going to do is connect that in, but not mount it properly just yet. I'm going to open up the BlackVue app in a second, and before we mount it, we'll check with the app, just make sure that it's in the right position and getting a good view, and then we'll mount it properly. So we'll leave that there. So we're just going to connect the BlackVue system up, or to the BlackVue system by Wi-Fi. You need to switch the Wi-Fi on beforehand. There's a little button here, there's a Wi-Fi button. Push that. Wi-Fi on. That'll enable the Wi-Fi, and then we can connect in from the phone. So we basically need to go into the settings menu, find the BlackVue, and connect up to it. And the passcode, the Wi-Fi passcode is BlackVue. Okay, so now once we're connected by Wi-Fi, open up the BlackVue app. This is the BlackVue app itself. We can mount the BlackVue in, and then once that's kind of mounted temporarily, we'll just go to the live screen. All right, and we'll be able to see now exactly where we've adjusted it to. So we can adjust that. We can do some finer adjustments, get it to the perfect position, and then leave it there. So the Wi-Fi is really handy so that you can actually make those finer adjustments and make sure the camera's facing in the right direction. And then you can go to the rear camera and make sure that's okay as well. And as you can see, that looks fine. Now that we know the system is working, we can reassemble the car and do some final tests on the system. Alright, so pretty much the last thing we want to do is just go around the car, and anywhere we've been working, just make sure that it's all put together properly, all the trims are back in place. So rubber grommets here, want to make sure that they're all sealed back up again properly, otherwise we'll be getting water into the car. And then just check the gaps around all of the trims here, alright, just to make sure all the gaps are even and there's no larger gaps there. Alright. And obviously also just along the window, just make sure that the BlackVue itself is in nice and solid, it's not going to fall off. And that's pretty much the back section done. Go around to the front. All right. And so anywhere we've been working here around the rubbers there, you can see that rubber's just been moved away slightly. Just check all of the rubbers. Make sure they're actually in there properly. Make sure all the trims are back together properly. Make sure all the screws are back in the glove box. And in here. All right. And then also, again, more rubber seals. Make sure they're all on properly. And make sure that the front camera is on nice and tight. And it's looking pretty good. Well, we've got everything back together again, and we've also completed our basic testing. But now it's time to do some more thorough testing on the system to make sure that all the features are working correctly, the cameras are aligned properly, and that it's generally ready for use. Okay, now that we've finished the installation, reassembled everything, we just want to do some final tests to make sure that everything's working properly. So, first thing is, let's check that the Wi-Fi and everything's still working, and we can still actually see what's going on with the cameras. So So we can just check that now. That looks good. Front camera's still working. Rear camera's still working. So that's great. Now, we can switch the Wi-Fi off.
Wi-Fi off.
Just make sure that we can turn the microphone on and off.
Starting audio recording.
There we go, it's switched on. And then the best way to test it is we'll go for a drive and we'll put the footage from the SD card into the video here. That's a nice camera. Just do a quick loop around the block. TJ. And provided that all worked, that's another successful integration. This product is available for purchase from our website. At the time we were recording this video, we were running a promotion to receive a free PowerMagic Pro when you purchase the BlackVue DR650GW 2-channel system. For more information, check out autofidelity.com.au/dashcams. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more, like it and subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to know more about this and other similar products, you can visit us at autofidelity.com.au or contact us by email at solutions@autofidelity.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.